Hey, Vedanta, are you there?
Yes, I am, Bede. I got my coffee in the morning and I'm brighten up.
Oh, very good. Okay, now, what I want to go on a little bit further is about this whole thing of seeking approval from others. Now, what do you think the meaning is? Why do you think it is that the approval from other people is such an important thing? What do you think the basis of that is?
Again, I think the minute somebody says something good about you, you feel so good and it's the pain is removed.
Exactly. You see, the only reason that we seek something is we feel we haven't got it. Now, Swami Dayananda says a very interesting thing. He says the only reason that people seek happiness is that they are unhappy. Now, the same way, the only reason, because I have a sense of self-disapproval, then by necessity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to seek approval. And I'm going to seek it through external means, and the best external means in terms of because I'm a social being and I live with other people, the whole issue of being approved of by others, being loved and approved of, becomes a means in which I can get rid of the feeling of self-disapproval.
You know, I think you're right, but you know, is that only so? Like, it's almost like my sense of enjoyment is tied up to the fact that somebody else approves it.
Well, yeah. Sorry, can you just go ask that again? Ask it another way. I'm not sure what you're saying.
So, one sense of the sense of approval of others being a removal of a feeling of pain is one angle. The other angle is, I also want to have a sense of enjoyment, right? I want to see a movie, but it's almost like when somebody else approving or together with me enjoying the movie, it seems to enhance the experience or almost make it.
Right, I wanted to think. Okay.
Enjoy myself on my own.
Okay, now, we need, as human beings, it is natural for us to enjoy and like association with other people.
Yes.
Okay, now we need to be related to other people in the right way. Now, Swami Dayananda says a very interesting thing here, that when we're happy within ourselves, there's nothing better than we bring happiness to the relationship. But normally we don't bring happiness to a relationship. Our agenda is to get happiness from the relationship.
Correct, consume, yes.
We're consumers. Please give me happiness. Yeah. So what happens is that's fraught with difficulties. So the thing is that, so when you see, here we are as a social human being. But the feeling is that we, you see, have any friends of yours ever talked about finding their soulmate or finding the love of their life, or they've got this idea that one day they're going to find the person who is going to do it for them.
Sure, and it's like almost the other way. I don't have a relationship, or I don't have this prince on a white horse who carried me away, so I cannot be happy. I mean, it's the other.
That's absolutely true, because what happens is this. With the sense of self-disapproval or the feeling of being unloved, which is a common experience, what happens is that we form in our mind an idea or an image of what it would be like to be loved.
Yeah.
Make sense? And then what happens is, if by some curious set of fate we suddenly meet the person, we actually don't meet the person. We meet a person which we can project that image on. And then, oh my goodness, do sparks fly then? Then we are in love. You see, because suddenly what's happened is that dire need to be loved seems to be fulfilled. And we become completely euphoric. Right? Now,
we're actually in love with that image of ourselves.
Sorry?
We're actually in love with this false image and not the real person who's there.
No, we have to, they're no longer ordinary. They are the person who is going to give me all the love that I've always needed, and I feel now so happy. Have you ever
Yes.
seen friends of yours be in love, and then after about 2 years is hatred?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Sure.
so the whole problem here is that when we experience ourselves as unlovable, I am an unloved person, we're not saying that is not a painful experience. That's a very painful experience. But as I said to you before, it's a notion. This is good that it's a notion, because notions can go away. But however, it feels like that we are an unloved person. And then when we meet someone who can love us and we feel loved, then what happens is that person becomes inordinately important, because they become the source of the self-approval. Suddenly I now approve of myself because this external person is giving me the love that I need.
Yes.
And there's lots of poetry and songs about this. You notice how a lot of the songs are all about losing the love, yearning for the love, wanting the love back. You see, it's normally a forerunner for many dramas. However, the beginning of the drama normally starts out well. It's not a live happily ever after. It's more like the beginning of all sorts of dramas afterwards. But the thing is that need for love, and you see, the problem is that, can you see how it's based on dependence? I am an unlovable person. I'm a person who's not being loved, which we're not denying is a very painful experience.
Right.
Then we strive to be in a relation to someone where we can actually experience being loved. So that idea of being a person who is loved becomes all important.
Yes. So the self-approval is part of that, isn't it? I mean, in the sense, looking for approval from the other person, because this person gets inordinate importance as the source of all love and the source of all. Yes, I recognize this a lot.
Being loved, and you see, this is the funny thing. We can understand a 5-year-old child wanting to be loved, can't we?
Sure.
Well, even when we're adults, unfortunately, psychologically, we're normally about 5.
I'm going to tell my boss that, you 5-year-old kid.
You see, we have the same desperate. You see, even though we're now an adult, in one sense, emotionally, psychologically, we're about 5 or 6. That's why it's such a desperate situation, because if you remember, like when we're 5 or 6, it's desperately important for us to be loved and approved of, isn't it?
Sure. Yes.
But
and in fact, they blossom, right? The children blossom under this love and approval.
That's right. And you see, and when we're adults, we have to hide the fact that we're that desperate, of course.
Yes.
Because you see, but the agenda is still the same. How can I get the love and approval? It's a huge issue, because, and if we think, and the thing is, I told you at the beginning, we need to be honest about the situation.
Correct.
If someone rejects us, that can be a very painful experience even today. Is that true?
Absolutely, because you feel unimportant and you feel like trying harder sometimes.
Exactly. Now, you see what happens is the notion I am unimportant and not loved by people suddenly becomes revealed by their rejection. Yes. We think they've rejected us.
Yes.
But what they've done is they've revealed our self-dissatisfaction.
Yes.
And our self-dissatisfaction is the basis of our striving. It governs everything that we do, according to Vedanta. This is essentially our fundamental problem, is that we are self-dissatisfied. We actually don't like ourselves. We don't approve of ourselves. And you see, but it's not that we haven't developed a positive attitude or a positive notion of ourselves, because in Vedanta we don't try and do that. It's we haven't discovered ourselves as we are. We haven't learned, we haven't understood that ourselves as we are is complete itself. This is the thing. In Vedanta, the solution to our life is simply discovering what it is to be ourselves. And the idea is that being ourselves actually is quite pleasant. But that, because we've got notions that we are unlovable or no good or unimportant or whatever, other people become incredibly important as a solution. And it's a precarious solution, because we're going to feel the highs when we get the approval and love that we want. And we're going to get the lows when we don't get it. But whether we get the high or we get the low, the problem remains the same. We are not being ourselves. You see, in Vedanta, our whole problem is that we are not being ourselves. Even when we are being a loved person, oh, I'm now a person who's loved. Oh, goody, goody, goody. Right? That is still being an object in our own eyes, an object with characteristics, isn't it? I am now a loved person. It's an idea.
What you're saying, Bede, is not trivial. I mean, what you're saying, if I understand it right, you're saying that this need to get approval from others is connected with the fact, it becomes almost like it comes from the fact that I don't know who I am. And so because is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, what it's saying is that we don't know what we are. We don't know what it is to be ourselves, and we don't know that we don't know what it is to be ourselves, because we believe ourselves is this unloved, unapproved of person. So therefore, because we don't know what it is to be ourselves, this is the fundamental premise of Vedanta. We don't know what it is to be ourselves, because in Vedanta, it is said that what we're actually seeking is ourselves. We're seeking to be ourselves, because to be ourselves is to be full and complete. Now that, at the moment, is normally just a theoretical idea. However, what we do understand is that we understand ourselves to be a notion. We can see that we make ourselves into an object. I'm a person who's no good, weak, you know, I'm not very lovable, I'm not, whatever it is, that notion that we have. So we make ourselves into an object.
How do I tie these two things up? Let me get back. There's one side is everybody, a human being is a social animal.
Yep.
It's often said. Mm-hmm. And we all interact in society.
Yes.
That's one side of the story. And the other side of the story is this notion that I don't know, I'm compulsively looking for approval. I give inordinate value to the approval I get from society. I
haven't discovered within myself, I haven't discovered within myself an approval that comes from being myself. A self-approval that is a direct natural consequence of being myself. I've remained a little child. Here I am. I'm the object of other people's perception. They're looking at me like this. I better shape up so that they will give me the right type of approval. And so what happens is then I live out for the rest of my life, unless I grow up, unless I discover what I actually am, I will compulsively get on this treadmill of moving away from being negative to being positive. But in actual fact, the real problem is that I have a compulsion to live out this identity. And it doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative. What I am doing is living out a fiction. And I compulsively do it because if I take myself as I think that I am to be my life, I will, even if it's negative, like we're talking about those, remember those people, those women that like to meet and get relationships with abusive men.
Yeah.
Even if that means experiencing pain, at least I have existence. At least I feel secure because I know and so what happens is we have this compulsion to live out a story. Do you know what I mean? But what's important is to maintain myself as that, because without that, I'm nothing. And we don't want to be nothing.
Yeah. So that is so, what you're saying is not, is so difficult to actually realize. You know, I mean, saying that, hey, I am continuously looking for approval in others because of the fact that I have not discovered my own self. That is simply non-trivial.
That's
That
right.
is,
And it's also complicated by the fact that this appetite, this compulsion to live out this identity includes having experiences that are even negative.
yes.
Because the thing is that once it's set there, we have to preserve ourselves as we take ourselves to be. So we're preserving ourselves when we're having painful experiences, and we're preserving our sense of identity when we're having pleasant experiences. But the name of the game is to preserve ourselves as we take ourselves to be. And like we can see, you know, with young adolescents who are constantly getting in trouble at school, we can see when human beings get together in a social group, the compulsion to promote. Now, even if I can't promote myself in a socially acceptable way, I will promote myself in a non-socially acceptable way. Have you seen people do that?
So, of course, I've seen people do that. But what's interesting is the angle that you bring in. It's a question of your own existence, which you're trying to preserve. And that shows itself by promoting yourself, because you think that if you don't promote yourself, you will not exist anymore.
You'll become nothing. We don't want to be nothing. So even if you know, even if a person's by themselves feeling sorry for themselves, they're still promoting themselves to themselves. At least they, you know what I mean? It's like a hologram. The ego is kind of like a hologram. You've got to keep it full of energy, and then it keeps alive. So it doesn't matter whether you have painful experiences or non-painful experiences, ego inflation or ego deflation, the common denominator is the ego. Is the sense of I is being preserved. And this is its compulsive nature. And it doesn't matter how much you change the story or try to change the story. While the premise is that I am an object, I'm a good person, which is an object. I'm a lousy person, that's also an object. I'm a bored person. I'm a confused person. I'm a struggling person. I'm an unloved person. I'm a loved person. I'm a magnificent person. I'm a real winner. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is all of them is not being yourself. It's being.
You must admire the tenacity of the ego, don't you? I mean, it's simply.
We can't really. Again, we don't want to blame the ego. It's ourselves being this. This is the problem centered on us. You see, it is true that it's a self notion. But remember what we said in the first time. We don't want to blame the mind. Because we haven't learned what it means to be ourselves, which is our problem, we're busy being something other than ourselves. And this whole push for self-approval through other people is a constant habitual urge. It's often not recognized because when people hurt us, we think it's them. So again, we don't face the fact that we suffer from this incredible self-dissatisfaction. When someone rejects us and the pain that is revealed, suddenly I am full of pain and self-disapproval. I'm convinced at that time that they have brought this about. But in actual fact, what's actually happened is that all that's happened is there's a revelation of my self-disapproval. And so that the problem exists in me.
Yeah.
What Vedanta says, in which we're going to go into, if I could really learn what it was like to be me, not as an object that's got attributes, good guy, bad guy, wonderful woman, low life woman, whatever it is, all of these descriptions, this object I can describe that I find either magnificent, or an object that I describe that I find not magnificent, in fact derogatory. Both of those are not real. Myself, as I am I a thought? Am I just simply a notion? Obviously I'm not.
No.
However, I become the notion. This is the extraordinary thing. I can be completely convinced that I am my idea of myself. When I'm suddenly, if I say, you know, when you say to a friend, when a friend talks to you, I just feel such a loser. That what they're saying is, a loser is an idea.
Yeah.
I've become this idea, and I'm saying, I feel like I'm such a loser. So they literally become and embodied the idea. So in terms of experience, they're experiencing themselves as a loser.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to be true. It's very hypnotic, actually. This whole thing is.
It is.
And the only thing that breaks the hypnosis. Have you ever heard that? You've had the, you know, in Vedanta they talk about a snake and a rope.
Yeah, it's an often quoted example.
Right. So what happens is there's a rope in a dark room, and because it's dark, and because you see, you can only make a mistake about something you know somewhat. You know, at least you can only make a mistake about something if you've got some awareness. So you got this rope in the middle of the corner. It's slightly dark, so you mistake it. You take it wrongly. You take it to be a snake. And then what happens is you're having an experience of seeing a snake. And of course you're frightened and scared.
Yeah.
Now, you can do all sorts of things to try and get rid of the fear of the snake. You can do relaxation exercise to get rid of the fear of the snake. You can try and build courage to get rid of the snake. You can try and fight the snake. All of this. But the thing is, the only thing that's going to resolve the snake is your clear understanding that there is only a rope.
Yeah.
Now, the same with our identity. It's like we take ourselves to be a snake. I'm a winner. Well, what does that mean? I'm a loser. It means something very important in this world. I am loved. I'm unloved. Both experiences are incredibly important, and we take them to be true.
Yeah.
They actually are not true. It's not possible for me, you know, me, the aware being who's actually looking at this idea that I'm a winner or a loser. I'm obviously not that idea.
Right.
And it's like what my teacher says, we know that we are, we just don't know what we are.
Yeah.
But we've answered, because of our ignorance, we've answered what we are. I'm a loser and I want to be a winner. I'm unloved, I want to be loved. So the whole point is that it's important to understand that we do suffer from this problem, but it's not, the problem isn't real, it's a notion. I am unloved is a notion. Now, if I do the positive thinking type thing or positive affirmations, you heard of this new age stuff, you know, affirmations, positive thinking?
Yeah.
So you're sitting in front of the snake and you're going, okay, it's a rope, it's a rope, it's a rope. Oh, yes, it's a rope, it's a rope. Yes, it really is a rope. It is a rope, right? That is not going to resolve the snake. Only a clear ascertaining of the rope is going to do that. It's like I might hear in Vedantic literature that really I'm the self, that my nature is full and complete. But if I don't actually see what that means, I'm just trying to hypnotize myself, encourage myself. I'm the self. Yes, I'm full and complete. Yes, I am really. but that is just self-deception. What we want is we want to discover what it means to be ourselves, as opposed and to discover that we are not this object that we take ourselves to be, a loser or a winner. That's an object. It's an object with attributes, isn't it?
Yes.
Positive or negative.
But you know, when we were talking about this need to get approval from other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you tie it down to this need to get approval to the fact that we haven't discovered our own selves.
That's in Vedanta, this is the fundamental problem. You see, I will not strive to get social approval or love unless I feel that I am an unloved and unapproved of person.
Okay.
Now, it's understandable to be scared of being an unloved and unapproved of person when we're 6 years old. That is completely understandable. There's no blame here.
No.
The problem is, here we are in adult bodies,
right.
Emotionally, we need other people to give us a sense of fulfillment.
Yes.
This dependence produces strivings, and it produces dramas of pain, and it produces dramas of so-called happiness and fulfillment. But they're only dramas.
Yeah.
They are not the discovery of what it means to be myself. Okay?
Yeah. It's very, very brilliant what you're saying, Bede. But what strikes me is there are a couple of talks which come up in my mind. Is in all the talks we've had, it's like everything boils down to discovering your own self. So it's sometimes I almost have difficulty in swallowing this. Probably it's my mind, or my intellectual capacity, which says, "Hey, is it true? Is there one medicine which solves all these problems?"
Yes, we just have to be a little bit careful on something. When we say the discovery of ourself, often what happens then is we make another object, a self that's fantastic and doesn't need anybody.
Yeah.
Because you see, we're so used to externalizing things. It's far better to look at it to discover what it means to be myself, to be myself.
Be myself, okay.
To be myself. Because you see, if we think about the discovery of the self, automatically in our minds we make an object, and we then project on all this mystical, religious, spiritual sort of notions of being sort of perfect and wonderful, and we're again pursuing an object away from being ourselves. When we say being ourselves, we mean this person here, right now, right where I am, as I am. This is what we mean by being ourselves. And we'll go into this more, but I still want to go over this thing. Again, we come back to the thing. Unless we actually see that we suffer from samsara, which is a process of becoming, a movement from a negative sense of self to a positive sense of self, to try the striving to find happiness. Because Swami Dayananda said the other day, what Vedanta does, it frees us from seeking. You see.
Yeah.
So this endless struggle of seeking something out there which will fulfill us, we need to go into a little bit more next time. But all I wanted to make clear today was we can think, well, I don't suffer from samsara, which is dependence on other people. But every time we feel upset because of disapproval or not getting the approval, it is clear evidence that we are suffering from a sense of self-deficiency in which we depend upon other people to fulfill. Okay?
Absolutely, Bede. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.